The hollow display fizzled to life, projecting the grim countenance of Fleet Admiral Ulrich. Gentle beings, I regret to inform you that our worst fears have been realized. The Xenonic horde has broken through the Arcturian gate. A collective chill swept through the secure briefing chamber aboard Celestis Prime Station. Reactions ranged from stoic nods of grim acknowledgement to sharp inhalations of dismay. For over 2 centuries, the implacable Xenonic horde had inexorably consumed system after system at the galaxy's outer rim, a relentless force of conquest and assimilation. Long had it seemed an inevitability that the hyper-expansive xenoswarm would one day reach the core systems of the Celestum Concordance. "What are our projections?" inquired the insectoid, Lord Academian Vrixus. "Our fleet dispositions and defensive scenarios?" Ulrich shook his augmented cranium. "Extremely grim, I'm afraid. My strategic core has run every simulation possible. Unless we take drastic unconventional measures, the Xenonic horde will overwhelm our defenses across the Orion frontier within 2 years." A symphony of dismayed chitters and chirps echoed through the chamber at the unthinkable timeline. Even the most conservative estimates projected half a decade at minimum to prepare for a fortified delaying action. "This is madness!" exclaimed the ancient Israelian matriarch Lorvina through a vocoder. "How are our reserves so depleted that we cannot halt such a foe? Have we squandered our readiness on pointless ideological schisms again?" "You misunderstand, Honored One," Ulrich replied grimly. "The Xenonic horde is more vast, and its armada more limitless than our worst predictive models accounted for. It has adapted, evolved in a way that even eclipses the contingencies laid out in the Orinthian scenario." The mention of that forbidden stratagem caused the assembled dignitaries to recoil in horror. Crafted at the height of the Draxian reckoning, the Orinthian scenario was an absolute last resort, a scorched continuity plan requiring the utter extermination of all life across the Orion frontier to sever the Xenonic horde from core space through an endless interstellar void. While ghastly, I fear even the Orinthian scenario would prove insufficient at this juncture, Ulrich continued, bracing for the inevitable outrage. The xenogenic swarm possesses a truly staggering force of semi-sentient feeder ships capable of stripping entire planets of all biomass down to the microbial level within months. Lord Academian Vrixus's mandibles clattered in disbelief as his spore casing rippled with anxiety. "Stars above, that is an extinction-level event for our concordance should our defenses collapse. They would strip our core worlds bare." "Which is why we must turn to humanity," Ulrich declared, the chamber descending into an uproar of bewildered invective. "The protectorates? What insanity is this?" cried the wizened Hyrillian oligarch Kralak, his bioluminescent frills flashing with contempt. "Those pacifist ingrates scarcely trade with the concordance as it is. What could such dilettantes offer against a foe capable of dismantling our home systems?" Despite the din of outraged dismissal, Ulrich remained steadfastly resolute. "I ask only that you hear me out, contemptible. The truth is, the protectorates represent our last desperate hope against xenogenic extermination." With a wave of his gauntleted manipulator, the hologram shifted to display haunting simulations of the Xenonic horde's inexorable advance. Tens of thousands of asteroids and cometary masses flung outward in complex orbital projections. Cosmic-scale harvester arrays spread across light-years of debris fields. Titanic seed ships of cyclopean design weaving intricate networks of interlinked waveform drives. A true hive intellect of cosmic veracity unleashed upon the galaxy's heart. The Xenoswarm has finally outmatched even our greatest contingencies in scale, speed, and adaptability, Ulrich continued solemnly. "We simply cannot halt its onslaught through conventional defensive means or asymmetric disruptors. Not this time. The sheer size and consumption rate of the horde eclipses every failsafe, every final solution we've devised over the eons. So we will cower behind the feeble protectorates, the frail offshoots of humanity." Kralak scoffed in disgust. "They lack the martial spirit, the unity of purpose, or will to counter such an existential foe." At this, Ulrich rotated the hologram to display a haphazard yet intricately interwoven chain of resupply routes and hyperspecial corridors linking the remote protectorate systems. What at first appeared to be a tangled commercial freight web soon revealed itself as a logistical pattern of dizzying complexity. Materials, vessels, ordnance, and personnel flowed along those tethers like a vast circulatory system joining thousands of human worlds in constant synchronicity. That, my contemptible colleagues, is the secret strength of our uncooperative human protectorates. While we and every spacefaring civilization before us unraveled from factions to empires and concordances, humanity has maintained a diversified, aggressively decentralized interstellar network. The assembled dignitaries recoiled in surprise as they recognized the uncanny, almost hive-like cohesion inherent in that web of commerce and travel. How? Lorvena gasped in astonishment. How do the humans maintain such complex coordination without a unified command structure? Such vast logistical throughput outpaces some of our most dedicated xenophage monitoring platforms. Simply put, humanity does not see their interstellar civilization as a collection of segregated systems jockeying for power and primacy, Ulrich explained, as simulated projections shifted to show bursts of shipyards, industrial armadas, and fleets of orbital construction. Each human world sees itself as one node in a decentralized gestalt of disparate yet equally vital outposts collaborating on the shared endeavor of mutual survival and advancement. He paused to let that revelation sink in amongst the rattled alien representatives. Where our once great concordances collapsed into bloated bureaucracy and stagnation, humanity's ingrained decentralization allows its systems to maintain vibrancy and material growth on an unprecedented scale. The full implications of humanity's interstellar networking soon became clear. Shipyards producing industrial miracles fueled by off-world supply lines, replicating the feat dozens of times over. Fleets of utterly immense explorer barges charting new routes and outposts to expand their intricate web. Any world lacking in resources was supplemented by a dozen neighbors whose cooperation undercut personal profit motivations. Finally, you begin to comprehend, Ulrich declared, as strategic maps highlighted the protectorate systems arrayed across the Orion frontier like a perplexingly intricate mesh. Where we Celestum have segregated our defenses behind rigid and predictable military hierarchies, the humans have created an interstellar manufacturing and supply juggernaut woven into every facet of their expansion. Lord Vrixus hummed appreciatively as his cilia rippled in thought. I see it now. Under duress, this protectorate civilization could rapidly transition to a unified armored logistics network, producing exponential forces on an astronomical scale. As consummate integrationists, the humans are ideally suited to disperse and counter an encroaching hive intelligence. Precisely, confirmed Ulrich. Their highly decentralized manufacturing base is already poised to meet any supply demand. Their populace is united behind collective endeavors without centralized authority. All that remains is to... No! Oligarch Krallak bellowed in horror, his frills flashing. You cannot be suggesting we militarize the protectorates and unleash their maniacal productivity on the galaxy. Relinquishing their skewed pacifism would make them the greatest threat to concordant stability yet. Ulrich met the outburst with grim serenity. I suggest nothing less than total integration, Oligarch, for the humans will soon unleash their productivity regardless. The question is whether their inexorable ingenuity will first be aimed at our core worlds or the Xenonic horde. A discomforted silence fell across the compartment. To relinquish the prideful illusion of military superiority to an upstart spacefaring civilization barely 5 centuries emerged? To cede the fate of the Celestum Concordance to a diversified collective with no unified socio-structural hegemony? Make no mistake, contemptibles, Ulrich growled. The humans present our only hope of survival against consummate extinction. With their unique decentralization and adaptive logistics, they alone can muster a limitless armada to disrupt the Xenonic horde asymmetrically at a scope to outlast its interstellar harvesting cycles. Once more, the hologram projections shifted to an even grander scale, showing simulated battles, interceptions, and supply offenses across hundreds of systems. Swarms of industrialized human fleets dispersed and regrouped in cyclical patterns, baffling to conventional strategic projections. Fortresses sprang up overnight from concentrated supply chains, only to fade like temporal mirages, merely transient economic upscalings for a targeted disruption. Wave after wave of hardware, continuously refreshed from exponentially productive protectorate factories, all executed autonomously and simultaneously across thousands of human systems. "We will not defeat the Horde," Ulrich declared definitively. "That is an unwinnable conflict dooming us to oblivion. But the humans may devolve the Xenos Warm into a perpetual series of interminable logistical quagmires, disrupted, outmatched, and indefinitely stymied with inexhaustible resupply offensives. At very least, they represent our only prospect of dragging out the invasion long enough to find a systemic kill solution." He allowed the grim pronouncement to sink in before adding, "Or they will find a solution themselves, leaving our concordance as little more than a tactical footnote in their galactic awakening."